Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Thunder. Today we're going to be starting to work on the inventory system. This is going to be the first part of 3 videos. It's going to be divided into 3 videos for the inventory system. The reason I'm doing this is because I'd like to keep the videos below 30 minutes. I don't want to be making really long videos or anything like that. So I'm going to divide the inventory system into 3 different videos. In this first video, we're going to be covering the basics, so generating our inventory um, and dragging and dropping. So let's get to it. First, we're going to go into assets, scripts, and then inventory. Right in here, let's create a C# script called inventory manager. Then we're going to create a new C# script called slot. Then we're going to make another C# script. Okay, this is kind of slow right now. Alright, so C# script, and we're going to name it item SO. SO stands for scriptable object, which it's pretty much like a sort of database. So this is where all of our items properties are going to be in. So let's just wait for it to compile. Alright, let's open it up in Visual Studio. On this tutorial, we're not going to need player stats, nor camera look, nor player. Neither stats bar. So over here in item SO, let's delete all of this because we're not going to need it. And where it says mono behavior, substitute it for scriptable object. Go over here right above public class, do 2 square brackets and type the following: create as a menu, parentheses, file name. Over here between 2 quotes, you can put whatever name you want. Basically, this is gonna be the name that we get when we create a new item. So whenever we make a new item, this is the file name. It doesn't really matter. I'm just gonna name it new item. Then over here we're gonna do comma, menu name. Again, 2 quotes, and pretty much what this is going to be. So let's go over to our editor. When we right click and we do create, this is going to create a menu over here based on the menu name we give it. So I'm gonna do survival game slash systems slash inventory. Okay, inventory. Okay, it looks like I cannot type correctly today. Actually, I'm not going to do system. I'm just going to do survival game inventory. Then I'm going to do another slash, and it's going to be new item. Alright, so save it. And now if we go over here to Unity, let's just wait for it to compile. If we right click and go to create, we can see our menu over here. So survival game, inventory, new item. You can go ahead and click it, but I'm not gonna do that right now. Let's go back to Visual Studio, and over here we're going to create a couple of things. First, public enum. A enum is basically a drop-down menu with multiple options. So this is gonna be for our item type. Let's do 2 brackets, and we're going to do a couple of types. So first, generic. So generic, we're going to use it mostly for things like resources. So let's say wood, I don't know, metal or stone. All those things are going to be generic, which is pretty much a item that's in your inventory but doesn't have any functions. So then next we're going to do consumable. Then we're going to do weapon. Then we're going to do melee weapon. Alright, so now over here, I'm gonna make a header. I'm gonna call it general. Then let's do a public string item name. Then I'm gonna do actually we're gonna need Unity Engine.ui, so just like in the last tutorial, using Unity Engine.ui. Now down here we're gonna do a public sprite icon. Then let's do public string description. I'm just gonna make a default to I don't know, new item description. And for the item name, I'm gonna make a new item. You guys can put whatever default name and description you want. Then we're going to do a couple more things. So first, go all the way up here, right below general, do public item type. Then next, over here, we're going to do public bool is stackable. I'll just have it by default false. Then over here, we're gonna do a public int max stack, which is gonna be 1 by default. So this is what we're gonna use in order to know if we can stack an item or not. So the max stack is pretty much, I think this is pretty intuitive. If you guys have played any survival game, you should know it. So if it's stackable, you can have a stack with multiple with a larger amount of items. And the max stack is how many of that item can you have on the same slot. So that's gonna be pretty much for item. So let's go back to Unity, and we're going to go into slot. Over here, let's do the following. So public item as of data, then public int stack size, and over here we're gonna need using Unity Engine.ui. So now down here, put a space, and it's gonna be public image icon. This is gonna be our icon image, so we can have an image of our item. Then public text stack text. Now down below in here, we're going to create a private bool is empty, and we're going to make a public getter for it. Public bool is empty. The private one is going to be with a lowercase I. This one's going to be with a capital I. And then we're going to do equals, and the greater than sign is empty. So this is a public getter. Basically, this is used when you need a variable private, but you want to access its value on a way that's safe. Basically, what we're saying is this is empty. So this is empty equals is empty. It's pretty much that. So now let's go to start, and over here we're gonna do update slot. Now down here, let's create the actual update slot function. So public void update slot, and then let's go in here. So over here we're going to do if data equals null, then is empty equals true, and we're going to deactivate both the icon and the stack text. So we're going to do icon.gameObject.setActive parentheses and false. Then we're going to do stack text.gameObject.setActive false. Now we're gonna do here else, and over here we're gonna do is empty equals false, and icon.gameObject dot set active true. It's pretty much the same thing as above, just with the opposite values. Alright, so stack text dot game object dot set active true. Alright, so now we're gonna do another public void. We're gonna call it add items to slot. So over here we're gonna put the item SO data, and we're gonna do a downwards dash. The reason we're doing this is because we already have a variable named data over here, so it's going to conflict. It won't actually give you an error, but whenever you write the code, it might mess it up. So make sure to have it like that. And same for stack size. Dash. Let's make it an int. Now, down here in add item to slot, all we're gonna do is data equals data down data dash, and stack size equals stack size dash. Alright, so once we have these two functions, let's get to the inventory. Okay, so inventory manager. Over here we're going to delete these two, and actually let's go back to Unity first, go to scripts, and then go to UI. Over here we're going to create a new C# script called window handler. This is going to be so we can access all of our windows whenever we need it. So let's open it, and we're going to make a public inventory manager inventory. Then down here on start, inventory equals get component in children inventory manager. And I'm gonna hide this on the inspector, as there's no need to see it in there. If you want to leave it so you can see it, it's up to you. And also we're gonna need a private camera look. Private camera look cam. Okay guys, so over here we're going to do this. Then down here we're going to do cam equals get component in children camera look. Then on update we're going to go ahead and do if, actually let's add one more public variable. It's gonna be called public bool window opened. So we're gonna use this boolean to know if there's any window open. In case a single window is opened, we're just gonna show our cursor and lock our camera screen so we can move it around. So in this case we only have inventory, so we're gonna do if inventory dot open. It's gonna give us an error because it's still not created, but we'll do it in a moment. Then window open equals true. And then up here we're going to do if window open, then cam.lock cursor equals true, false, sorry, and cam.canMove equals false. Then we're going to do else cam.lock cursor equals true, and cam.canMove equals true. So now this is pretty much it for it. So now let's go over to inventory manager and actually make it so we can close it and open it. So we're gonna do public bool open. Then on start we're going to get a reference of the window handler. Actually, never mind, we don't need that, sorry. On update, we're gonna do if open, then transform that local position equals new vector 3 0, 0, 0. So there's one thing I do have to say in here. So this is the position or inventory UI will be at whenever it's actually open. So let's go to our Unity editor so I explain something really quick to you guys. So let's use the HUD as example. As you can see over here, we have position X, position Y, and position Z. But in this case, it's not 0, 0. So I'm gonna set it to 0, just so you guys see, it's on the center of the screen. So I'm gonna be having my inventory on the center of the screen, but if you're gonna have it, let's say, on the right, you know, like that. If you're gonna have it there, let's say, then you have to put this value over here on the X. So it goes the same way, X, Y, Z. So that's pretty much how this system is gonna work. So just keep that in mind whenever you're doing this line of code right here. Okay, let me just move this back to its position. Alright, so over here, then we're gonna do else if it's not open. Well, we don't need that if. Then transform that local position equals new vector 3. And over here, instead of 0, we're gonna do negative 10,000, 0, 0. Basically, we're just making sure that it's outside of the screen. That's why I give it such a high value. Because if we put a value of 1,000, it will still most likely be on the screen. So I'm just doing it because of that. Alright, so now just to test this out, we're going to go ahead over here. Actually, never mind. There's one more thing we need. So right below open, we're going to create a public key code inventory key. And this is going to be the key we use to open and close our inventory. I'm just going to make it so it's default tab, because that's the key I like to use. And now up here, we're going to do if inventory if input dot get key down inventory key, then open equals the negative value of open. Basically what we're saying here is open equals the opposite of its current state. So this means negative value. So using it like this, we're just saying so open equals the opposite of open. And over here is not inventory manager, is inventory key. Okay. That's why it wasn't working. So inventory key. So let's go ahead and do something simple for the UI and test that out. So over here in Canvas, let's create an empty, and we're gonna call it all menus. And on all menus, we're going to add our inventory manager. So the reason I'm doing it in all menus and not on the following empty that we will create called inventory is because over here in all menus is where everything like the crafting menu, the looting menu, all of that will be at. But all of that will only be shown if inventory is open. So that's why I'm doing inventory up here, because they all need to access inventory, and it's the easiest and simplest way to do it. So let's go back to inventory. As you can see, it's in the middle of the screen by default, so we don't have any problems. And over here, I'm going to right click and create a UI image. I'm going to call it BG background. And I'm just going to give it the same color as my health background. So right there and right there. So now I'm gonna resize it, because as you can see, it's just a little square. So let's go ahead and resize it. That feels like a pretty decent value. Something like that. Alright, so now over here we're going to do the following, which is let's hit play and test the opening and closing out. So as you can see, it's not on our screen. I'm gonna hit tab and it's right there. So there is an issue. It's right there, but it's not doing the cursor thing. So let's go over to window handler. Window open, log cursor false, can move equals false. Over here we're gonna do one more thing, which is else window open equals false. So log cursor true, can move true. Let's test it out again. Okay, I think I know what's going on. Okay, never mind. Yeah, I know what's going on. We didn't assign our window handler. That's what's happening. So select player, go all the way down and add component window handler. So let's save it and go ahead and test it now. Okay, I'm gonna hit tab and there you go. So now let's go ahead and start doing our slot generation. So let's go ahead and open the inventory manager script. And over here we're going to create a couple more variables. First we're going to create a header and we're going to call this refs. We're going to create a public game object slot template. Then we're going to create a public transform content holder, which is where all of our slots will go. Then down here we're going to create a private list, and it's going to be of type slot. It's going to be called inventory slots. Then down here we're going to create another private, actually this one's going to be public. Then actually let's go with private, just see if we need it public, we'll change it later. Also of type slot, and we're going to do inventory slots. Not inventory slots, sorry, all slots. Then over here we're gonna serialize this field, because here's the thing, inventory slots, we're gonna be using it for adding items to our inventory, but all slots is gonna be used for dragging and dropping items. So because all slots will include things like the container slots, yeah, pretty much it's that, just that, container slots. So when we do boxes that we can loot, the UI from those boxes is going to be contained in here, so we can actually drag and drop from there to our inventory slots. So let's go ahead now and create over here a public void, private void, sorry, generate slots. Then let's go up here and create this start method, and we're gonna generate the slots. Now let's go back up and create a couple new variables. First, I'm gonna make a header. And it's gonna be called inventory settings, or just settings. So we're gonna do public int inventory size. I'm gonna do it a default value of 24 slots. And let me just think what else we might need. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it, just inventory size. Now, next thing we're gonna do over here is we're gonna run a for int I equals 0 if I is less than inventory size, then I plus plus. Alright, and inside this for, we're going to generate our slots. So first of all, we want to make two lists over here. Slot, and we're gonna call it inventory slots, but with the downward dash. We're gonna do equals new slot list, new list slot. But then over here we want to run another for, so same syntax, int I equals 0, then if I is less than, but in this case instead of inventory size we're gonna do all slots dot length. Okay, yeah, so over here we're not gonna use lists, we're gonna use arrays. So we're gonna do slot and two square brackets, with which means it's an array of slots. Same thing over here. So slot, 2 square brackets. Alright, and over here we're gonna do all slots dot length. Dot length. There we go. And I plus plus. I'm just gonna comment this so if I ever revisit the code I know what it does. So the all slots right into the local list. Alright, and this one's gonna be the actual slot generations. Generate slots. So over here what we're gonna do is pretty simple. We're gonna make first over here another list of type slot again, and it's gonna be called all slots. Well, we're gonna do again the downward dash, and it's gonna equals new slot, new list of type slot, not with the 0. And over here we're gonna do all slots dash dot add all slots I. Alright, so now down here we're going to do slot equals instantiate slot template dot game object, comma content transform content holder, and then after the parentheses we're going to do dot get component slot. Next, sorry, not slotting here, slot template. Then down here we're gonna do inventory slots downwards dash, remember that, dot add slot, and same thing for all slots, but just keep in mind we're using these ones over here right now, and slot. Now over here at the end we're going to basically, first of all, over here we do inventory slots no downward dash equals inventory slots with the downward dash dot to array, and same thing for all slots. So all slots equals all slots list dot to array. Alright, so there we go, that's our basic generation code. So now we'll do some work on the UI so we can actually see the actual generation happening. Let me just make sure that everything is correct. So on start, update, yep. What about slot? Start, update, slot. Alright, so yeah, we're good. So right now what we're gonna do is we're gonna create our slot template. So first thing, inside your background, create a empty game object, which is gonna be our content holder, where all of our slots are gonna go. And over here, content holder, go over to this thing, click on it, and hold Shift and Alt at the same time, and click over here. Now, add a component called Grid Layout. And you can use the same settings as me, it's totally up to you. But I'm gonna do fixed column count, 6 per column, and I'm going to lift this thing up though. Gonna be upper left, upper center. Actually, let's do upper left. Alright, so now inside of this, we're going to go ahead and create a UI image. We're going to do slot template. Actually, I'm just going to call it slot. So let me just do that. And now over here on content holder, I'm going to make sure that the cell size is what it just right. So okay, so content holder, bring it down to 0 in here. Alright, so next thing, slot. I'm gonna copy it a couple of times, but here's what I'm gonna do. This is just for arranging the UI, so you don't really have to do it. You can just do it later if you want, but I'm gonna do it right now just to get over with this. And let's change upper left to upper center, and I'm going to add some spacing on this. So yeah, let's do 2 and 2. Let's do 7 by 7. No, that's way too small. 15 by 15. That sounds about right. Yep, that's pretty good. I'm gonna lift it down a little, and then I'm going to just add some width to the background. Okay, so I'm gonna delete these other ones because I don't need them anymore. And the slot, I'm gonna go ahead over here and add component slot. And inside slot right here, we're going to create two things. First, a UI text, which is gonna be the actual name text. Not name text, sorry, stack text. So first of all, I'm gonna make it so this matches this, and okay, I'm gonna do something else actually, because this is gonna give you some troubles with the text. So go ahead and do image, a new image. But this image, we're going to go back over here and do slot right over there. Because what we want to do is keep this slot over here so we can use it as a reference for this image. So I'm gonna put it on 0. Okay, never mind. Alright, so over here on content holder, this image, we're going to make the cell size 100 once again. But this time we're just gonna scale it manually. This is not the best approach, but it's the one that will work the best for this situation, or at least the one that I know of that will work the best. So okay, yeah, it seems about right. So in this case, we're gonna have to lift our content holder up, but we can already see it over there. It's sort of matching that. So let's go ahead and just increase it a little. There we go. I'm gonna delete this slot. So now I'm gonna create a UI text right outside this, and then I'm gonna drag it into image, which we're gonna rename to slot. And this text is gonna go to 0 on all the axes. and I'm gonna scale it down over to this. And this slot, I'm gonna give it the color I want it once again. And for the stack text, as this is dark color, I'm gonna do it white, but I'm gonna add a dark outline. So just place the stack text wherever you want it. In my case, I want it bottom right, so let's go ahead and just make it like that. And I'm gonna do X0 on here just to have a way to see this, because I want to increase my font size as much as possible. So I'm gonna increase this, and let's go ahead and, yeah, that seems pretty good. Let me just move it a little bit more inwards. There we go. Now inside here we're gonna create a new image, which is gonna be our icon. So let's go ahead and do that, but we'll have this so that we can view the stack text above the image. And I'm gonna go ahead and rename it to icon. Now let's select our slot, and okay, we need to add this slot component again. I'm just gonna drag it. So over here we're gonna drag our icon and our text. Don't worry about these two because the inventory manager will handle these two things. So now we're gonna go into our assets folder, and as you can see, I already have the folder created, but you shouldn't have it. So go ahead and create it, make the prefabs folder, and we're gonna take our slot and drag it into here. Now we can delete it from our scene, although I'm not gonna do it yet. I just want to check that it works fine. Okay, so I gotta add a spacing of, let's do 10. So yeah, it looks about right. I'm gonna delete them all now. Actually, just gonna run one last test, which is whether it fits. Yeah, that's what I wanted to check. So now, as you can see, this is not actually working 100%. Okay, I'm gonna drag my content holder out just for a moment in order to resize the background. Although I do need it right over here. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Alright, there we go. I'm gonna drag my content holder back in here, and I'm going to scale up my background just so it's more visible, but you don't have to do it. Again, most of the things that I'm doing here, except for the slots configuration, most of it is just aesthetic, so it's up to you. Just make sure you have the grid layout and the slots the way I did them. That's all you really need. So let's go ahead and delete this, save it, and now let's go to all menus where inventory manager is. We're gonna drag our slot over here to the slot template variable, and the content holder to the content holder variable. Okay. And now that should do it. So let's go ahead and start the game. Alright, so let's go ahead and open it. As you can see, our slots are generated. I'm gonna do one last change, which is take the background and scale it a little bit over on this axis just to check how it looks. Yeah, it looks a lot better for me, so I'm going to use that. I'm gonna use this dot value for it, so there we go. Now I'm just gonna make sure it still works as intended. So yeah, there we go. There you have your the basics of your inventory. You already have your slots being generated. In case you want a larger inventory, all you really have to do is go to all menus over here and just increase this. So we can do 14, for example. And you'll see that when we started, we only get 14 slots. It's pretty simple. So you can see Well, in this case it's 15 because I did 15 accidentally, but as you can see, yeah, 15. But I'm gonna leave it at 24. So that's pretty much it for this tutorial, guys. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and comment. It helps a lot, and I'll see you guys in the next video.